Good morning, and welcome to the Committee of the Whole for the Municipality of the County of Annapolis. Welcome to the citizens that are here with us today, and reminder that you should put your cell phones off or on mute so it doesn't interrupt our meeting, and that we are being recorded. Thanks. We'll start this morning with roll call. District 1.
Councilor Carson Salzman.
District 2, Jesse Hare.
District 3, Justin Enslow.
District 4, Charles Cranny.
District 6, Jonathan Welch. Oh,
Yeah.
there she is.
Good morning.
Good morning. District 6, John Welch.
District 7, Ted Eggenberg.
District 8, Niall Harding.
District 9, Gidget Oxner.
District 10, Brian Fuzzy Connell.
District 11, Diane LeBlanc.
Okay.
Good morning, councilors. Here we go. We are doing the disclosure of interest. Do we have any?
No.
Seeing none, we will move on. We need the approval of the order of the day, but I do have an addition to in camera. We are going to add section 22.2G, legal advice, underneath 7.1, so that's 7.2. So we'll have contract negotiations and legal advice. Are there any other, Councilor Hagenbeck?
Yes, under new business, I would like to include mayor versus warden discussion. Would that be 6.2?
6.2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Seeing nothing, we need the approval of the agenda as amended. Councillor Carson Salzman and Deputy Warden. All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay, now we'll start with the approval of the minutes of January 14th, 2025. There's nothing to change or discuss. We're moving on through. We are going to 5.1, page 7. I need a motion for physician recruitment. Yes, please, Councilor President.
I motion that municipal council approve a grant in the amount of $10,000 to Dr. Yasmin Zaidri, Jani, in accordance with Policy 108 Medical Recruitment Financial Assistance Program.
Thank you. Seconder, Deputy Warden. All in favor, signify by... Oh, is there any questions? Yes?
So, I don't want to be touted as the bad guy. However, I just want to bring something up that I've been thinking about since I started reading the package, was we're getting a lot of these requests, which is good, means we're getting doctors. Phenomenal. However, I just wonder if we're going to have a limit on our policy, or if that's something that we're in. I just want to, it's something I've been thinking about of, okay, what happens if we have 10 new doctors or 20 new doctors, which is phenomenal because I still don't have a doctor. But that's 100, 200,000. Just something I've been thinking about. I don't want to say to get rid of the policy, because I feel maybe it is a carrot for the doctors coming, but the bigger carrot is the bonuses that the province gives. But I just wanted to put that out for thought. It's something I've been thinking about, is maybe it's something we should look at. I don't want to not support healthcare, because I 100% do, because I'd like to have a doctor someday. But it's just something I've been thinking about that I want to throw out just in case anyone else was thinking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comment?
Just-
Councillor Hare?
On his comment, is there anybody here that knows how many of these grants we've given out in the past year?
This is what we have. Would you come to the front? Ms. Halliday?
6.
So to date, for this fiscal, we have given out 5, and this would be the 6th one. So the way it works is, of the $10,000, 5,000 of it will be paid out in the first fiscal, and then the second half isn't due until the second to the next year. Go ahead.
Just, it says 6 applications have been approved to date. So, does that mean that this is the 7th though?
No.
Because this one hasn't been approved.
Oh, this one has been, yeah, so we have 5 that have been approved, and this is the 6th one.
Okay.
5 of them will be for physicians
Yep.
and nurse practitioners. One of them was for the Lawrencetown Community Health Center, and they wanted specific equipment for their new place, so that one's been paid out in full. The others have had a $5,000 payment so far, and then the second half of their payment would be issued next year, in the next fiscal.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councillor Connell?
Well,
Pardon?
I support the motion to support the positions. And also, it's good that we do help the facilities. If they need specific equipment, it doesn't belong to the doctors. So if the doctor doesn't stay, the equipment's still there for the use of the citizens. So I think it's a good program.
Thank you, Councillor Connell. Councillor Longmire, did you have anything to say? I thought I heard it. Okay,
She's got her hand up.
we'll see what happens in a minute.
She got good cell service.
She must be at
It's because she's outside of an She's over the hill.
Councillor Longmire, if you posed a question, we did not hear it.
Yes, okay. Think that not having family doctors.
I agree, yes.
Is, the county. I lots of different, and see, with the virtual care and different things like that, but, seeing a number of new practitioners, nurse practitioners, and physicians, and we need to be part of that. It's been highly successful in Middleton, and I know there's more to come in the future, so I certainly support this amount. I would like to say, going forward, it would be wonderful to have maybe a recap in our agenda, maybe more frequently, just to keep us up and current. I don't know if that's possible, but it would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Wherever you're standing, it works, so don't move from that spot. Any other questions? Comment? Okay. Seeing none. Thank you, Madam. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
No? Approved. Okay, we're moving on. We are now at page 9, municipal boundaries. This is the report that was presented to us today to review. Staff is requesting direction from council as to how we wish staff to proceed with the further public input. We have options there to look at. On the number of councillors and municipal district boundaries for 2028. Let's start. Do we have questions, comments, discussions on this part? Councillor Cotw?
Well, I see that the pin voting is very expensive. It's a shame, because as much as some people keep telling us we didn't listen to the last survey, I know individuals that voted 10, 20 times from their own home computer. So it was a bogus survey, and I wish people would understand that. People keep saying, oh, they went to the library. No, they did not. They voted right from their own home. There was no limit on how many times you could vote, and it was a bogus survey. That's why I really wanted to see a PIN voting, but $51,000, 500 is quite a bit. I see that an estimated cost to run meetings in 11 districts, $2,000. I think we should have 3 areas in each district. For $2,000 is our cheapest way to get to the people, but you can't have one spot in our stretched out areas, because people from Springfield are not going to come to Cotw, they're not going to come to Middleton, they're not going to come to Lawrencetown. They're going to come to Springfield if we can get them out there. And same as in Margarettsville and Port George and all those, they don't travel long distances. We've been proving that meeting after meeting after meeting. We've had recreation and other stuff. It's hard to get people out to them. But for the cost of, it says $2,000 an estimate for 11 districts, well, I would think that would be our cheapest route to go to try to get to the people, is to meet them in their communities.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor. Councillor Fair?
I think I gotta echo a lot of what Fuzzy is saying. It's unfortunate the pin voting costs so much, and I mean, a lot of this other stuff seems like it's gonna cost a lot as well. In my opinion, the way I would like to see this go forward is we have our meetings, and to ensure it's a fair process, so we talked about the education piece and so on, I would like to see maybe not necessarily a bunch of meetings, but rather a few meetings where all the counselors show up. And the education piece can be each counselor has their chance to voice their opinion to the people present at the meeting on if there should be more same or less counselors. I think that would provide our education piece, our education factor. And then after each counselor gets to have their say, the people who are attending the meetings can then fill out a survey at the meeting and hand it in before they leave. And I think that would, you're not going to get repeat votes that way. They're going to hear what everybody has to say. So it gives us a chance to defend ourselves and whatever opinion we may have. And as far as the number of meetings, we talk about having, in the past, talk about having as little as 7 districts. I don't necessarily think we need even 11 meetings, because if we're talking about dumbing down the number of districts we have, this kind of shows them what they're going to get with less districts if we have less meetings. We're not going to, if we're talking about having then nine districts, have 9 meetings, and then they're going to really understand what it's like when we shrink our size down, if we do. So that's my opinion on it all.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. So, I was supportive of the PIN. I was hoping it wasn't going to be as expensive as it was, but that's life. I do think that we should have meetings in each district, and like Councillor Connell said, that we should have more than one in each. And I also like the idea that Councillor Hare had, where we do the survey there. But then we're dealing with what happens if the people can't get there, their mobility concern, what have you. You know, people that are in senior care homes or whatever. We have to really think, you know, we're supporting accessibility through our county, so we have to think of accessibility through everything that we do. So I don't know if there's a way that we could have a survey questionnaire for people that attend, which I think that is great. But is there a way that we could do some type of survey that people have to identify their address or something, but then that doesn't make their vote anonymous, but no different than the PIN situation, I guess. I'm just thinking of ways that we can, you know, combat the comments where people are voting 10 or 20 times per household, because last time there wasn't a limit to do it. So there's going to be some type of accountability, and obviously we can't afford to do the pen situation. So I just think maybe we reevaluate. So with this information that we give back to the staff that we like public meetings and so on, maybe there's something else we can think of. Because I do want to see as many people participate as they can. I don't quite know if I support the idea of the councillors defending the number, because in my mind it kind of is an intimidation factor. But I see the point of it. We're the coalface. We're, you know, yes, but I think we could word it differently. And I do believe that every councillor should be to every meeting to show unity. But I don't know if we should be defending our own thoughts, because all of us have our own thoughts around the table. And it doesn't look good if we go as a council and then we're contradicting each other, especially when we still have 3 years left. You know, we don't want to become divided this early anyway. So that's just my thought in the matter, that maybe we just need to look outside the box, but there's some good things in here as well. So I was really surprised about the cost of doing 11 meetings of $2,000. So, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. Councillor Agenbar, and if before you start, Councillor Longmire, are you in the question zone?
Yes,
Okay, you'll be after Councillor Agenbar.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Well, we're in this situation because we had an opportunity to resolve it before and it didn't get done. So this is going to cost money. It's a question of how much money. I personally like the PIN voting, but I think there has to be restrictions on, you know, limiting a household to have only one vote, or maybe two if there's two voters. But I also think that we should get a specific quote instead of a guesstimate of 51.5. I don't know where that number came from, but a specific quote to actually do the survey and include I guess what's better for a better word, some kind of restriction on the number of people that can vote per household. I also agree with the previous councillors that spoke about having more public meetings. I think that's cost-wise is probably one of the best ones, as well as they've said. Mail out, I think, specifically like a flyer is really expensive for sure. There's no question about it. And if you have a PIN situation anyway, you're going to be doing a mail out to get the pins out. So there is going to be cost. I think there's been some good points made here. I'm not sure as well about all of the councillors being at only 9, because that's irrelevant. There are currently 11 districts, so whatever goes for one district has to go for them all. But this is going to be an investment in governance for the next number of years, and I think we need to do our due diligence and do it right this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longmire?
Thank you so much. You know, this is a big deal. It's going to cost money, and it is the taxpayers' money. I love the idea about our halls and meeting, but some districts might not have a hall, but they have a fire hall or something close. You know, the councillors could be visiting their halls, we could have surveys, we could meet and greet people and maybe provide an education session so that people can understand the urgency of coming to the right decision. It's not going to be easy. It's just the same as campaigning. You might be able to get to see everyone, but you might not. You might not hit on all the highlights with everyone. So I would like to see us explore using our halls, fire halls, and seeing what that could produce for numbers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments on any of the suggestions? Councillor Cranton and then Councillor Walsh.
Thank you. So just echo some of the other comments that I had. I did receive an email last night and just kind of reiterating that the unfortunate aspect of this is it was something we're spending money to redo a process that we've already done. So hopefully we do a good job this time around. I agree that the PIN voting is not affordable. But I do agree that there has to be some sort of limitation to how we get that. So I'm agreeing with basically what everybody's saying too, but the public meetings is where we get the most value for our money. And so I want that to be part of it. I like the idea of having a vote at the public meetings because then you're ensuring that that people got the education session and did the before voting. However, I would also agree with what Deputy Warden Anslow said. I am concerned about restricting it to the people. If somebody can't get to the meeting, then how do you include them in the process? I don't know the answer to that, but that is my concern on that. In terms of the pricing for the mail-out, I think that's probably up there as well, but I would like to see what the pricing of some educational material is so that when we do have these meetings that there is some material to hand out. And just kind of last but not least, I've always kind of felt that this one's somewhat ironic for me because we're talking about our own seats, so the comments back and forth about councillors speaking at these meetings, I've always felt that, you know, we're doing our best to bring the concerns of the people forward. I feel that's what I try to do, but at the same time, we're also talking about our own seats, so it's somewhat kind of conflicted. So, but who speaks at these meetings, I don't know, but I would be also mindful of it being us saying how we feel about it, because in a way it is sort of our own opinion about our own positions.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Cranston. Councillor Welch and then Councillor Hare.
Thank you. I like the idea of the community meetings. I think we should, and multiple within the different districts. I have two concerns. One, as Councillor Cranton suggested, people that can't get out to those meetings. That's an issue. How do we account for them? And secondly, how do we track voting? We could have people going to multiple meetings, voting multiple times, unless we have a means of tracking that. So that would be through ID and all of that process, right? And having a voter list. So that's an issue too. So I know that the electronic PIN voting is outrageously expensive, but it might be the most accurate, unfortunately.
Thank you, Councillor Welch. Okay, Councillor Hare.
I'd just like to kind of elaborate. What I had said earlier was just an idea. My main concern all boils down to there needs to be an education piece of the consequences of less counselors. I believe that is a must, because I think for the majority of people, they just think less politicians, less money. There's not a lot else. So, and along with that, the only one vote per person, one survey per person. Those are kind of my main two concerns, and I was just giving an idea of how we could do it, because I'm not seeing a ton of ideas, so I was just trying to give an idea on how we could possibly do it. So, if anybody has better ideas on an exact way we can do this.
Councillor, thank you. Yes, Councillor. Hardy.
I'd like to agree that I think that the public meetings would be a good way to engage a good amount of people, and I'd like to echo a lot of the comments that the other councillors made. The costs for the PIN voting, and even the mail out, which I was really hoping to see, are really prohibitive. I mean, especially where, you know, we've already incurred a lot of costs for this the last time around, and then we're looking at, you know, a total here of $108,800. That's a lot of money. You know, we've been stressing a lot about fiscal responsibility so far this year already. So I think if we could use our community halls and us as councillors go out and speak to the people in our community, I think that might be the best thing. I think what I'd like to see is maybe an education handout drafted up that had sort of an agreed statement of facts that we as a council could all agree upon, and we could have a vote on that, that all the information that we wanted to see as councillors was on that handout, and then when we attended these meetings, we could bring a stack of these handouts. We'd have a staff member there, presumably with us as well. We could hand out the handouts, and we could all kind of agree to stay on that topic, sort of. We could all agree to that, and then we could hand out the surveys after that, and everyone that attended could have the information, and then they could fill out the survey. I think that would be an effective way of doing it. I also share the concerns that, well, there's some people that aren't going to be able to make it. Perhaps there could be sort of a way that they could reach out to us in some sort of way, and we could try to get them some surveys to fill out. There's always going to be a concern that people are going to travel around and do the survey multiple times, but honestly, I think if someone's going to do that, I'd be kind of surprised if they were really going to be jumping around from hall to hall and traveling that distance just to try to sway a survey. You might get one or two people that would do that, but I don't know that that would be that concerning for me, honestly. So that would be my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Any other comments from any other councillors? Okay, so to go over what we've heard, I guess we're looking at public meetings and try not to have it so that some people are voting more than once, and have a information sheet prepared for these meetings. Mind you that they're considering that electronic PIN would be the best. I was surprised at the cost of $51.5 for electronic PIN compared to a package for mail out for $28.9. Anyway, that's just so do you have, nobody said anything about advertising, so do you have what you need?
I do not.
No, I didn't think so.
Madam Chairperson, the price for the quote for the PIN is an actual price quote. It wasn't cherry-picked out of the air, so just to confirm that's a factual number. The second part is the consensus I seem to hear at public meetings. The question is, do you want 11, 22, or 33 meetings? Some want one meeting per district, some want more than one meeting per district. And then the other part of it is you want some educational piece as part of it, so that we can develop. So I guess staff need to know whether you want 11, 22, or 33 public meetings.
Councillor Hare. Councillor Agenberg.
I guess the number of meetings is going to determine on whether we want attendance to these meetings. If we're going to do more than 11 meetings, we're not going to have all the councilors showing up at these meetings. Any more than 11, we're not going to have all these councilors showing up at the meetings. So if we're going to do 22 meetings, 2 for each district, I'm not going to say I'm against it. Each councilor obviously has to attend their own meetings and possibly around it, but I would want to make sure in that circumstance that we do have an education piece that again has to be read, dictated to the crowd or whatever before they fill out the survey, and that education piece needs to be agreed upon by all the councilors. If we're not going to be showing up to these meetings to see, what kind of persuasion might be going on, so.
Thank you, Councillor Hare. Councillor Agenberg.
Yes, I would be in favor of 22. I think 1 is, not enough, because typically the turnout isn't good, because they are fairly large districts, as we already know. So I would say that. That's important, to go with the 22.
22, thank you very much. Councillor Hardy.
Oh, excuse me, can I make one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
There you go. You're on.
Well, no one, in the last go-around, staff basically manned these meetings along with the current district counselor, that I went to a couple of them, and that's how they were attended. So I don't think the intent is for every counselor to go to every one of these meetings. It's impossible. That would never happen, and it's not necessary to happen. So the main thing is when they have the public meetings, the last time they had easels set up and they showed the different plans and how the districts would be redrawn with the specific numbers. So that in itself is part of the education process, and but I also agree with the combined information that you were speaking about as well. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I would recommend the 22 meetings, and I would say that doesn't need to be attended by all councilors, but should be attended by that district's councilor, and be open to anyone to attend, including all the other councilors if they wish, with a education handout that is agreed upon by the entire council, as well as a stack of surveys to hand out, and a staff member from the municipality as well.
Thank you, Councillor Hardy. Councillor Oxner, Councillor Connell, and followed by Councillor, I want to say Chucky. Thank you.
So I think we need to go with 22 public education sessions, and we should consider a daytime and an evening in each district with varying locations. So not at the same hall for both meetings, to encourage people to attend.
That would be hard in my district because I only
Same
have one
here.
hall. So I was looking at you
Yeah.
because I'm thinking you're the same. In any case. And who's next? Councillor Connell.
And I have the same concern about a daytime and a nighttime meeting. If you were having a daytime and nighttime meeting in the same hall would be one question. But where my district is so stretched out, where do I choose a night meeting and where do I choose a day meeting would be, people work. So do you go 2 nights meetings or do you go 2 days? That would be my question on that. I agree that 22. I know that if in District 10, if there was one in Springfield and one in Lawrencetown, I would hope that it would catch most of the people in that district. But I also, since it hasn't been mentioned, the communication part for $8,200, I think we still gotta do a communication part to let people know. We gotta advertise, like people around the table said, we've done it once. I read an article last night, I think Claire's done it twice, and they're not happy with that. So, either we spend a little bit and try to do it, so we can get people out and accomplished, because I'm only hearing from 2 individuals in our county, and they've been negative on it last time and again this time. And it's very well known, the people that are saying nothing are not negative about what we're trying to do, but they're not showing any big interest to getting out to show their voice. I think we should be doing the public communication part, and also the ones that have concerns about people not being able to vote. I don't mind the contracted employee for 10 straight days for $4,000 to answer a phone survey. Are we gonna get duplicates? We're gonna get people in our county that think it's smart and do it more than once. We did before. It did it in paper ballots. They got their cousins that were down for Christmas to sign it from Ottawa, you know. So there are gonna be people in our county that just don't take it serious like we're trying to. But I think that we didn't mention those 2 other articles, and I think if we wanna hit people that can't and don't wanna come out to the meetings, that if we had somebody overseeing a phone for 10 straight days so they could phone in and vote, I think that would be probably as secure as we could do.
If I may, Madam Chair, just to clarify, that's just for the PIN voting. If you have PIN voting, then we have a phone bank like we did for the election.
Oh, so that should have been up top with the...
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Not
That'd be very
saying
different,
that.
because you'd have to have a public education program for people to know what they're calling in for and what they were supporting, and so if they don't go to the public meetings, based on what we're saying, they wouldn't know that stuff. They would get some of it, but very little. So that specific price quote of $8,400, is it $8,400, $8,200?
No, 4,000.
4,000, yeah, that's just for the staff for the PIN voting, if you're doing electronic voting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so that wasn't advertising on our county website that they could vote electronically.
No.
Any of the flyers we put out, or vote, just call them in.
Correct.
So it would be 51,500 plus 4,000.
Plus the other advertising, everything else, that would all go in there. Went electronic, yes.
So I guess, is there an avenue to have a staff member man a phone for 10 days if we advertise that people could phone in to vote? And what cost would that be?
Well, it wouldn't be a staff member, you'd have to hire somebody to do it.
No, understandable,
And so,
be a staff, short term.
well, I guess if you hire somebody for a couple of weeks, you're probably at the $3,000 or $4,000. Somebody sitting there, but they'd have to know we'd have to have a phone line established, and then the people would have to know if they're calling in, what are they answering, what's the question they're answering, and what information are they basing their decision on.
What we can do, man.
So, and it's not the same person calling in 10 times.
But I do think that we gotta do the advertisement part, because that's some of the things that we're not doing a good job at the best of times. And even if we're gonna hold 2 public meetings in each area, we still have a hard time getting those advertisements out to the public, so it's challenging. I know it's important, and to me, it's just as important to the ones that would like to see status quo as it is to see downsize, so I think we have to do a good job at advertising, so people know that it is important.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cranston.
I was about to echo Councillor Collins' comments on the phone line. Anyway, I echo Councillor Harding's most of his points there. I agree, I think with the 22, two for each district, and the local counselor for the district be at least attend and the rest. And I think the key component is the information piece that council will have previewed it ahead of time and agree that this is a fair and consistent explanation of all the options with the pros and cons of each option. And I think that by having the education piece, that alleviates the need for all counselors to be there, because at that point, the meeting's almost kind of running itself. Here's the information. We've all agreed that it's fair and reflective of what the ask is, and then we go that, and I would leave it to staff to kind of coordinate which halls in each location and have an equal mix of nighttime, daytime meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. So, first I'd like to say that having all the councillors attend was also a spitball idea. Because personally, I don't want to go to 22 meetings, 33 meetings. However, I do want to hit home the fact of unity. But besides that, I think that we should be doing 22 meetings. I agree 100%. And then in some areas it's going to be unique of how we do it, where they only have one community hall. But also for myself and Councillor Agenbar, where we share one community, that we'll have to decide how maybe we only do 3 in our 2 districts. But the staff will figure that out. I do agree that we need to spend the $8,200 on the newspaper ads, the readers, the Facebook, a nice campaign on our own website, especially this new one that might someday appear, that maybe we can have some type of flashy thing. As well as, I like the idea of Councillor Connell about the hiring a temporary staff member that has a designated line that could take a vote over the phone. Now, I know that if we hire someone new, they might not know much about the county, whatever, but telemarketers don't know everything about what they sell. They work on a script. So we could have a script and they could have a voter list, and then we could figure out how we're going to determine if people already voted or called in. We somewhat need to treat this like an election. That way we don't have duplication. But I do agree that we need to do that. And so I would be supportive of all these options for $16,200.
Thank you, Councillor. Sorry, Deputy Warden. Councillor Oxman.
As far as the phone line, because I don't think we can rely just on people filling out a survey at the meetings, can we have a pre-recorded script when they phone into the designated line that explains basically what we're telling people at the meetings, and then proceed from there?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Agenbar.
Thank you. I just thought of an issue in respect to voting at these meetings. So the last one we had, I missed one of the meetings in my particular zone, so I attended one. I went to Nicktaw, as a matter of fact, which is not where I lived. So there's potential that one individual could go to 22 meetings and vote at 22 meetings. So that also duplicates, as Councillor Connell stated, with duplicate PIN meetings. So I think pretty much, I don't know how we can avoid having the PIN to get the total number of votes that we need, or, the maximum amount of votes possible that we can get. But there's always going to be a plus or minus tolerance in respect to that as well. So I think you're going to get the best total survey through a PIN.
Thank you, I have a question, if I may. I'm looking at the second suggestion. It says, if in-person electronic voting station are required with an estimate of 1 per electoral district for 2 days of voting, including external staffing, training, and hall rental, this cost is estimated at 14. So that 14 would also go with the 51?
Correct.
As well
If you
as
wanted
the
an in-person vote electronic at all.
Yeah. Okay. So if it was electronic, just by itself, it would just be 51 plus the 4, or whatever, right? But 51
plus 4.
plus 4 plus,
But then you also have
Newspaper.
newspaper advertising and some other
Okay.
stuff.
I got a question after that.
okay. Now, we're gonna have to come up with something here.
Councilor Parsons.
Council,
Yeah, so-
yes, I was gonna say that, she's on.
So, my question, so I'm for the 22 stations. I don't know what the attendance was the last time, or if we're even considering that. Is the 14-2, the second option there, is that possible with paper voting, non-electronic? Like if we had paper ballots and the people had to go into your community centers to vote? No.
You'd be at 50,000.
Okay.
60,000.
Just asking.
Okay. Debbie Wood.
So mine's just a financial question. So, if we around the table said, you know what, we're just gonna go with the Cadillac for 108,000, okay? And we're in budget season right now. Could we absorb that cost under our current financial pressures without affecting the tax rate or the services? I know you can't answer right now, but I just wanted to put that out there. If we say, okay, you know what, this is important, everyone feels it's important, we want to do it right, we want to do it with the PIN, that way there's no discrepancies. That way when this thing's done, we can say, it's done. And no one can say, well, 20 people voted and this. So could we absorb that 108,000, because of course it's unforecasted right now. Like, I'm not interested in, it's a hard question to ask, but I want to put it out there of, if we do it, can we actually absorb it? Like, I know we're going to forecast that, you know, everyone knows that their assessments went up, so they're going to have that increased revenue, you know, but I just want to know, is it even possible?
I don't know if
It's a hard question.
It's an easy question. If council wishes to realign budget priorities and cut from other areas or move money from other parts of the budget, sure you can do it. But I'll also suggest to you that if you do an online PIN vote, whatever the lowest number is, based on the fact that people don't like government, that's what your number's going to be. So if you pick 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, people are going, the majority's going to pick 5. So I'll save you.
I agree. No, I agree.
At least with public meetings, you can at least have a conversation with people and explain things to them and what your role is and how many meetings you know do and the workload and the complicated government we operate. They get some feeling for it. Just to go online without a background, you send out 15,500 pins. Lowest one.
No, I agree. It was just more curiosity.
But if the council wishes to allocate the 108,000 plus a couple months of staff time to do that, then certainly we'll find a way to do it.
Okay, we need to come to
Conclusions.
close back in.
Um,
Councilor Hare,
I
Councilor
just
Connell.
want to quickly point out, there was concern about the duplicating. So it's gonna be a lot harder, and I don't think it'd be a problem worrying about people duplicating at meetings. The problem was with electronic, and I think you end up with the same problem with a phone. It's easy for somebody to sit down at the desk and keep doing it. It's a lot, it's not gonna be, people are doing it for fun. I don't think it's gonna be a problem. You might end up with a few skewed results, but in the grand scheme of things, I don't think I can make an argument that it was, if all we have is surveys at meetings, I don't think I can make an argument that all this was false because there's too many duplicates. And that being said, I'm also not really supportive of the phone calls. We don't know how long, I'm not supportive of the phone calls at this moment because we don't know how long our information piece is going to be. And what if we have a bunch of options? And also, I understand that part of this is going to be maps. So they're not going to see a map over the phone of the districts, or the potential districts. So I'd preferably like to keep it simple with the meetings.
Thank you, Councillor. Dr. Cotw?
And I understand the concept of people are down on political awareness right now. I've been on council for 20 years. I've told many people over my 20 years, stop running their lips and put the sneakers on. They have the same opportunity to go throw their 50 bucks into the bucket and go out door to door, same as I have over the last 20 years. And I've never seen any one of them step up to the plate. But they're fast enough to criticize what we do. They don't even know what we do. They're just down on government. I think if we go out to the halls and we do our public engagement, and we do our advertisement, I still have the issue, I still feel the same as some other councillors, there's going to be people that would love to vote, that maybe can't get out to a meeting, maybe haven't got the ways and means to get to a meeting, no matter if it's accessibility or what it is. But somehow, we're going to have to come up with somehow that those people can have an opportunity to vote. So, I'm 100% for 22 meetings. I'm 100% on the $8,200 for the advertisement. And I just think we have to work on something that's achievable for people that can't get out to the meetings to have an opportunity to voice their opinion.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Aguilar?
One last comment.
Yes?
Well, Councillor, or Deputy Warden Inslow talked about the Cadillac being 108.8. Well, if we just choose the PIN, the 22 districts, and advertising, that's 107. So you either have to drop one of the major issues in terms of expense, 4,400 or the 5,500 or some combination of both, or you're still going to have $100,000 to do this. So that's something to consider. Add them up. 55.5 for the PIN, 44,000 for the 22 public meetings, and 8,200 for the advertising. If those are the three that we choose, it's $107,000.
Okay, so we're going to try to break this down. Thank you, Councillor. Are all in, Councillor Councillor Longmire, are you in here?
No, it's gone.
Ben, is she,
She's gone.
we just lost her?
She's disconnected.
She's gone.
Gone. She'll be back.
She is spared. Okay, so what I do here is, let's try one thing here. We seem to agree that we are looking at meetings in the halls and looking at 22 of them. How many agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay, so there's one. 22 meetings. Okay, the next step I hear is we agree that we have the newspaper ads. How many agree to that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and
The employee one.
the employee one, or the,
Phone.
phone banks?
The one right underneath the newspaper.
Contracted
Contracted
employees.
employees to oversee
Yeah.
the phone bank. And that would go with it, I presume? So we decided on 22 meetings, newspaper ads, or whatever it takes there for the 8,200, all those things. And the contracted employees go with that as well, I presume, Mr. CAO?
No.
Goes with the PIN.
That's what I thought.
Well, no, but
So we need the paper, we need the, I want to say, information letter to go with it. And how many agree with that? The information piece that goes with it as well needs to be
Yeah.
prepared?
Needs to be prepared, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, and agreed on by council. Yeah.
And agreed on.
oh, yes.
Oh, yes, I hear you. Councilor Longmire, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to add, the halls and 22 meetings is amazing, and we need to do that. We should also informally, as councilors, be out in our communities generating interest. Also, a recap at maybe several fire halls in the end, just to give a final opportunity for people to come out if they missed.
Thank you for that, Councilor.
Thank you.
Okay, so those are the three things that I noted as far as I went. Did I miss anything? Does that give you enough to,
All, you want a mix of daytime and evening, or all evening?
Could we let the councilors decide that in their districts, or should it just be uniform?
Well, we have to be careful. Because we're encroaching a little bit on the political side of this versus the administrative side of this. However, if councilors want to pick daytime or evening time or what halls, that's fine.
What about weekends?
We just have to be careful that when we get into, if you have 11 councilors at a meeting, are the public going to be open and honest with what they think? Or are they going to be intimidated?
Don't agree with that.
Or even if you're at your own meeting, are they going to be scared to say anything because they're intimidated by their own counselor there who they may or may not support or agree with or something like that? So we just have to be careful with this.
good one.
So we let the admin pick it? We let the admin decide?
That would be what I would
Yep.
suggest, that we've made decisions
But if you want,
on things.
but if you want afternoon, if you don't want any afternoon meetings, then just say that now, we won't have any afternoon meetings.
I don't want any afternoon meetings in my district.
Do them all in the evenings.
Do them all
Evening.
in early evening.
And do you want the whole month of May or the whole month of June? What month do you want to pick?
May.
Because that'll be every night for
22.
5 weeks or 6 weeks.
Well, you better get it in before the end of June because people start going on vacations and stuff, so.
Okay, so we'll plan for from May 1st till
Happy Mother's
June
Day.
15th or something like that.
Can I suggest a couple day meetings in between somewheres, this, for those who may not be able to make an evening meeting?
I think staff should incorporate a mix of
Yeah.
afternoon meetings in there for that reason that Councilor Parson Salzman mentioned.
If you love driving or whatever, take that into consideration.
Yeah, but staff don't want to go plan something and you say, well, nobody showed up because you had it in the afternoon and everybody in that community works that afternoon, so.
The best attendance has been evenings?
I'm not sure for the planning, Ms. Bannon, best attendance been the evenings?
The 30-odd meetings that we held, we had a good combination between daytime and nighttime. We really did.
I feel
If you would.
if we do afternoon, the
for daytime, maybe it should be like mid-afternoon. I just know in my district, people really prefer the evening. Like whenever I've done other things, it's always been the evening because I've worked on the day. But, yeah.
So how about, Madam Chairperson, we'll schedule 22 evening meetings. If a particular councilor wishes to have one in an afternoon sometime, let me know several weeks ahead of time. We'll schedule an additional one over and above that in an afternoon somewhere.
Oh, that sounds great. Well, does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
We unanimously seem to agree on that. I think, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
yes. And then says yes too. Thank you, Longmire. All right.
Okay, and just one final thing. The last meeting, we talked about 9, 10, and 11. Is that still what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we decided last time. Councilor Aguilar, do you have a comment on that?
Before we all go yay or nay here, could you give us the final result of what we're voting, what we're looking at here? Final 3 or 4 items that we've decided on?
So there are 22 meetings, 2 in each district. In the evening, if a councilor wishes an extra afternoon one sometime in the mix somewhere, they let me know several weeks ahead of time. We'll follow with the newspaper, Bridgetown Reader, Facebook ads.
That's the 8200?
That's about the 8,200, yes. And then staff will prepare an information piece, be like a 2-pager, front and back side, that gives a basic education of the role of council and the commitments and responsibilities, and we will have that approved by council before it's photocopied and shared at meetings.
And the cost of that?
The cost of that is
Unknown?
$20. Won't be very much. Because we're only distributing them at public meetings, we're not mail and vote or anything, so that's a very cheap cost. It's just staff time to prepare it. And then we'll prepare some type of survey at the meeting that people can fill out at the end of the meeting.
Right.
Which is another $20 per paper.
So,
Okay, and then we'll schedule the meetings from 1st of May till probably June 15th. Somewhere around there. It'll be every night of the week or whatever it is for 4 or 5 nights a week for 6 weeks straight.
so the only opportunity for folks to vote is at a meeting?
Yes. But there's going to be like 25 meetings.
Okay, well, thank you.
If I may, Madam Chairman, recognizing though, this is one piece of the voting process for councilors. So as a member of council, you may get called by somebody, you might get emailed by somebody, and so when you raise your hand eventually to vote in favor of whatever you're going to pick, you're going to use this process as one piece of information, what you feel personally based on your own experience, what you're hearing from your community from people who didn't attend the meetings, what your comparison with other municipalities and the costs and budgets and time commitments. This is just one piece of the pie that you have to calculate or use to make your final decision at the end of the day. So if other people contact you via other ways, certainly that's valuable information, you should use that in your decision making.
So the total cost is going to be roughly in the range of $53,000 to $55,000?
What?
Yeah.
Where, okay,
It's going to be 4,000 for the meetings,
yeah.
and then 8,200.
Well, oh, so the 2,000 was the total estimate for the 11 meetings,
Yes.
not per?
Yeah.
Okay, I misunderstood that.
What's that, 2,000? Just
Okay.
So it's
4,000.
4,000.
And a few meetings.
if we get it.
Okay, all right, that makes a
Okay.
huge amount of difference to me.
Yeah.
So you're looking at about 14,000. All right, we've all agreed on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Direction is- You're giving direction to the CAO on this? And there it is. Perfect, thank you very much. We're moving on. All right.
2,000 meetings?
I was wondering how you were getting to the 107,000, but I thought maybe
There
I
you go.
missed something.
Okay.
All right, we are on page 12. And this is the Lawrence investment policy, that is presented. I need a counselor to put the motion on the floor. Councillor Cotw.
I move that municipal council, the county, municipality of the county of Annapolis approve policy 133 respecting municipal investments in Lawrencetown.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Hare. All right, discussion. Councillor Cotw.
Since it's in my district, I'll
Start.
give you my views on it. Over the past 20 years, we've given investments to the village at the rate that was stated. I think it did go up a little bit over the 20 years. I think we used to only give them 5,000 for sidewalks, now we give them 10.
Yes.
But if anything happens within the village, we're not responsible for it. They are. So it was nice to hear at the joint meeting we had that they're sitting pretty good for a small village. But that doesn't mean they're gonna have a water main break next week or a big project. They've gotta save up their 30,000 or 32,000 to do some of those projects. They may have to save it for 3 or 4 years. I mean, we look at our gas tax or whatever it is now for the county, and I realize the village is different from being in the county, but our county funds go in a pot that do big projects across our county. If we looked at it and said, you know, what about the other areas? Should they have a certain amount to spend in their area? To do projects like the Bear River Water, the sewer in Bridgetown, you guys would be 20 years saving up $30,000 to do a project. The village, we're looking at giving them $32,000 a year. And like I say, if they have a major break, they've got to borrow money themselves and use what money they've got reserved. So I think it's a good investment. There was never anything down in writing, that's why this policy's coming forth. It's just was done every year and really no policy to follow. So this sets the guidelines till the policy's reviewed again and down the road. And like I said, I think the village is setting pretty good. I think some of it's to do with they got good management, and they put in a lot of free time, so it doesn't really cost them much to run. And like I say, down the road, definitely they're gonna have issues they're gonna have to fix. So I'm hoping that people understand why this policy was brought.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. So I'm supportive of this policy for various reasons. So the fact that we have a policy, that's a big thing, and that it's written in stone, well, edited stone. But the fact that this also gives the village the ability to plan for the future. So they know that they have this allotted funding, and they're not coming to ask for it, or we're giving it out of the kindness of our heart, that we have a policy, they know that this is what it's for. But they also have their own water systems and stuff that they manage no different than us. And they have to forecast reserves and so on, no different than any other water utility. But I'm 100% supportive of this, and I think it's long overdue. I'm glad that we're doing it.
Thank you, Councillor. Our Deputy Warden, Councillor Crancher.
Yeah, I also support the policy and glad to see it in the form of a formalized agreement. And I think it's good. I echo what the Deputy Warden said. It gives them the ability to do some longer term planning if they see, somewhat of the commitment of funds available. I would like to point out, as Councillor Cotw mentioned, that
one big project could put them in a position where they still may need to borrow money, or they may still need to come to council for a request over and above if they have a catastrophe before they've built the reserve up. So that's why I'm glad to see Section 8 about the reporting and accountability provided to us so that we can see how the investment's been saved. And then if something big happened, we can say, well, you've managed the reserve well, and, this is a fair ask. So to sum it up, I'm supportive of the policy.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Any other comments? It appears I didn't hear Lynn. Okay. Councillor Longmire, do you have anything to say?
Thank you. I just wanted to also say I am so pleased to see this policy. I so respect us seeing it as an important position to take with the Village of Lordstown. They work so hard, and our efforts with them need to show up stronger, and so I am totally in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, we have provided this through the years, but now it is on paper and in policy, so all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Thank you. We are on page 16, the letter. This is a letter that was provided to us by the Mayor Corkum and the different districts or municipalities in Kings County about the library, and they worded the letter. You've read it through, and we wish to send it on as a team effort from both counties, from all the different municipalities. Are there any questions on this? We don't need a motion, do we? Okay. So, Deputy Warden, would you phrase the motion to send this letter off?
I'll try my best. I move that municipal council approve, or accept it. I don't know. Can you come up with something?
Agree.
Okay, agree to send this to the Honorable Dave Ricey, whatever, Minister of Communities, Culture, Tourism, and Heritage.
Thank you. Do you have that, Mike? Seconded by? All in favor, comments? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no?
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, we are on page 18. And that goes from 18 to 75. So this is an information report presented to us, or put together by Alicia Alyssa, the Strategic Initiative Coordinator. We have a motion. Who will read the motion? Councillor?
This is the,
No, this is, wait a minute.
this is the
No,
direction.
sorry, I made a mistake there. Okay, so we need direction, so I'm going to ask Ms. Lace to inform us.
Thank you, Warden. So County of Annapolis has developed an ecological forestry initiative at the Greywood site and neighboring county-owned lands. In May 2024, Council approved advancing the initiative, and Western Woodlot Services Cooperative was hired to review the past 2013 Forest Management Plan and assess potential harvest opportunities. WWSC conducted an initial analysis and site visit at the Greywood site and identified potential harvest areas for pre-harvest assessment. A summary of this analysis and a recommended harvest area have been provided. The preliminary site visit recommended 89 acres for possible harvesting in 2025. Thinning operations were completed in late 2023, early 2024, generating $9,042 in revenue and costing approximately $3,815. To proceed, council must decide whether to approve a comprehensive pre-harvest assessment. This assessment will examine tree species, soil conditions, and sensitive areas, recommend sustainable harvesting practices, and estimate associated costs. The estimated cost to do this is $1,500 plus HST, which is to be covered by the Forestry Reserve Fund of $5,227.
Thank you very much. Deputy Warden?
Thank you. Just a quick question on rate of return. So I know that when we've done this in the past, we received money from the sale of the wood and so on. I just want to know, with us providing the $5,200, are we anticipating that we'll get that money back within a year or 2 years?
No.
Am I wrong?
Go ahead.
I'm not sure I understand your question. We have done thinning already,
Yeah.
and we received $9,000.
Right.
Sorry, never mind. Yeah.
And
Right
so,
with
but
that.
then minus the expenses of that, we have $5,227 left in the Forestry Reserve
Sorry,
Fund.
I had it back.
Yeah.
Which covers the...
Yeah, that's right, okay.
Okay. Councillor Connell, Councillor Hare, Councillor Welch.
I think it's a good incentive. We're trying to do a sample forest or good forest management on our own lands, hoping that other private lot owners will take time to come look, or if we have an open house for them to come look again at our next step. I think it's a good step with the land we own to show leadership, and and the cost is $1,500 plus HST, and that's for the assessment. But then it may be a cost to do what they're going to harvest. But last time we did receive quite a bit of money back from that harvest they done on the few acres they done before. So I think it's a good initiative, and I think it just shows leadership.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Who next? Councillor Hare?
My understanding is we're paying for an assessment on how to proceed with harvesting this 89 hectares, correct?
Yes, an in-depth assessment.
An in-depth assessment. My only thoughts on it are, so basically what happens, we do the assessment, and then you take that information forwards when you go to the contractor to do the harvest, correct?
If they do a further assessment, I will bring it back to council for further recommendation, because there'll be estimated costs associated with that analysis, deeper analysis.
Just the only thing I'm thinking is, seeing how I deal a lot with these contractors in the woods. And again, I know some people might see this as a fox guarding a hen house, but I do know these contractors would do this for free, given that they might have the opportunity to be the one to do a harvest. We do got a lot of guidelines here. If you tell them they got to go by all these guidelines, it means a little less fox garden hen house. And as far as it goes, the guys in the woods have a lot to abide by anyways through provincial regulation. It's just my ideas. We're spending $1,500 when it could be free, but.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hare. Councillor Welch?
I'd like to say that I'm in favor of the assessment. I think $1,500 is a reasonable price tag on this particular project, and it's going to give us a lot of in-depth information, I think, on the biodiversity of the particular area that we're reviewing. I think at some point, I like the idea of the open house, going out and inviting the public to see what the county is doing there as an example of ecological forestry. And I think as a council, we should all go out there collectively, not in black fly or deer fly season, and
Thank you.
and have and see what we're investing in, because we're really investing in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We did have an open well, we did have councillors go the last year.
Yeah,
this
some of
spring.
us didn't get there.
I never got a chance.
But it was open, and I don't know if public was invited or not. Do you know anything about that?
No, I think it was just for us.
Just the councillors, right? That's what I thought. Okay, Councillor Harding.
Yeah, so just want to just clarify, so this report that we have here in our package is from 2013. So basically what we're asking is that we have a new updated report that would be similar to all of this.
No, the 2013 is a forest management plan,
Okay.
and the 2024 report, December 2024, is an initial assessment of the Greywood site to do further harvesting.
Sorry, if I could just add, just quickly by my calculations, so even if we made 5,227 off of what we already did in 2023, even if we paid the 1,500, we'd still be in the black, roughly $3,700, give or take the HST on that 1,500. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Any other comments? Councillor Tom?
So that money from the previous council, we put it in a reserve fund because it didn't come from the taxpayer. We put it in a reserve fund to continue on our investment in our own forest. So just, you know, where the money came from and where it went into in a reserve of its own, to only be spent on forest management.
Yes, correct. Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Cranton?
Yeah, that's how I would interpret it as well. The last harvest resulted in surplus, so we're just basically saying we'll reinvest that into further study, and a pre-harvest assessment doesn't necessarily commit us to going with another harvest, but it's more study into the topic. So I think it's a good decision.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any other comments, questions? No? Okay, from here.
We have consensus to do the pre-study for $1,500.
Yes.
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 Motion, or we could,
No,
everybody agree?
Yes.
Unanimously? Yes. And I hear Councillor Longhart saying yes as well. Okay, so we are on page 76. A lot of information in that package. Okay. This is the staff report prepared by Ms. Campbell, Madame Campbell, and the Director of Corporate Services on Policy 109. So we need someone to read the motion. If Councillor Carson Salzman.
I motion that municipal council approve policy 109, tax exemption and reduction as circulated, 7-day notice.
Thank you. Seconder, Deputy Warden. Discussion.
Dave asked us if we can explain this.
Oh, sorry.
Just a little confused.
Madame Campbell, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Just so that you're clear, this is not the annual review of this policy when we look at adding new properties or taking properties off that no longer qualify. This is an oversight that has been carried forward for several years that we're trying to correct in advance of that. And this report explains that we took water utility tax exemptions out right after dissolution of the town of Bridgetown. And this is to clarify that this policy does not include exemptions for water utilities.
Okay, are there any comments or questions on that? That's as clear as can be. Okay, all in favor signify by...
I have a question.
Oh, I almost got it out. Councillor Aguilar?
So, in respect to Bridgetown, does this have any effect on the current area rate, or the people are paying, or is it specifically to do with water? How does it affect the residents of Bridgetown?
This has, if you make this change, it has absolutely no financial effect. It's just cleaning up the policy so that it's not confusing.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no?
Yes.
Motion carried. you, Madam. On page 88? Okay, again, this is a report by Madam Campbell. I need somebody to read the motion, so we can get started. Councillor Hardy?
I move that municipal council approve policy 126, road naming as circulated, 7-day notice.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Welch, I believe. Thank you. I will leave it up to you, Madam Campbell.
This is, again, one of the policies that we are updating, trying to make easier to understand, streamline processes. The only significant change is that the new policy does not include any provisions in relation to community boundaries because there is no provision in the MGA that gives us authority to change community boundaries. We are, however, part of the community consultation process that is mandated by the province when those community boundary reviews are undertaken. So other than that, there is no significant change to any of the conditions of how the process works. It's just simplified and it's taking out a lot of the detail at the end that isn't necessary but will be provided to our residents on our website and through other media.
Thank you very much, Madam Campbell. As you can see, we streamlined it to a couple of pages compared to before. Any questions? Deputy Warden?
Thank you. So just to touch on the streamline, so my understanding is that we took one of the steps out there. So it doesn't have to go to council first before we can start the process, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it actually speeds up the process?
It does.
Okay.
And there have been significant delays sometimes in the past where we've had requests just waiting for council to say, yes, we can undertake for staff to look at that and give you advice. We're having people in a holding pattern for 3 weeks just for council to say yes, and council has never said no.
Exactly.
Because the logical thing to do is get staff to give you information.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And she's correct, it's a holdup. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no?
Yes.
Motion passed. All right, we are on page 105. Madam Campbell, are you busy this morning?
Been a busy month.
Staff report from Declaration and Proclamation Policy. I need somebody to read the, Councillor Welch.
I move the municipal council repeal AM 125 Declaration of Proclamations Policy 7-day notice.
Thank you very much. Seconder, Deputy Warden. Okay, Madam Campbell, just a quick review.
This seems to overregulate what we don't need to overregulate. I guess I'll just put it that way.
Nope. Very good.
All right. Any questions? Councillor Cranton?
I would tend to agree with what was said. I did have a slight concern when I first read this, and maybe it's guilty of current political climate, but I like seeing that it's our policy that this stuff is proclaimed. I certainly trust the warden's judgment, and so another alternative would be, instead of repealing, to include a provision as kind of an and/or other proclamations as seen fit. I just was kind of torn when I read it. Obviously, we would still proclaim these things, but at the current moment, I like the idea of leaving it as our policy that these are what we proclaim.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Hare?
Just from my understanding, if we repealed this, and however many years down the line, any warden or mayor could make a proclamation with whatever they so choose. Yes. So in which case, I do think I am in favor of having this policy. We don't know what the future holds for us, ever.
Deputy Warden?
True, 100%. And I never, yeah, I know that I spoke to the warden briefly about it, and the only thing that I can say on that is we don't want to handcuff now for the future. We have to believe that if we stay with the warden system, that we're the ones that elect that person to be the warden. So hopefully we're selecting the right person to be the warden and the voice of council. And hopefully the advice from the staff on what proclamation they would make would be taken well. Some of this is also to streamline the policy. That way, if something comes up, we're not waiting for a council meeting to discuss some sort of proclamation that we want to do, or that the warden wants to do, sorry. But I do see the point, especially in today's political situation. So I really don't know how I feel about this yet, but I do agree that there's a risk for the future, but at the same time, currently I feel trusting in the warden that we have, and I also feel comfortable in the fact that in this current situation, we elect the warden based on our thoughts and confidence. And if something comes up, there's nothing saying that we can't put a policy back in, but I also see Councillor Hare's situation as well, so thank you.
Okay, Councillor Trenton, and then Councillor Hare.
And I would just reiterate my confidence in the rule of law. Just my bigger concern would just be, given current political climate, that just, and I appreciate what you're trying to accomplish, but it just may not be the right time, and I would also have perceived concerns around the optics of repealing this particular policy at this particular time.
Thank you. Councillor Hare?
Just quickly regarding warden, I know in the past, however many years you want to go back, you probably have had bad wardens too.
Oh, no, we're not going to say anything.
Not go there.
No, I just meant in all in history, so.
Pick on me. Any other comments there, Councillor Hare?
Nope.
Oh, you're done. Yes.
I guess just from the staff's perspective, there's lots of issues that come forward that aren't in the policy. It just means those will be missed, and we'll have to tell those people, sorry, we don't have 6 weeks to take this through the process, staff to write a report and bring it back, and it'll be constant, because we get requests constantly, probably every week, almost every 2 weeks, people want proclamations, and we'll just refuse them all, except the ones that are in the policy here, because otherwise there's just not enough time in the day to write a report for all these and keep them coming forward month after month after month after month. But council wants to keep it the way it is, that's fine. Just recognize there will be some complaints from people that were not nice to some other groups who were refusing, so.
Yes, Councillor Hare.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I think just in reading through it, this is basically just saying that we're going to, rely on the discretion of the warden to go ahead and review those requests that come in from people in the community, for various initiatives or things that are happening. And it gives her an opportunity to say, yes, this is something that we would support as a group, or no, we wouldn't. If it was not sort of a routine request, she always has the option to come to us and ask our opinion on it as well at one of these meetings. But I think this is just looking to just give her the opportunity to say, hey, here's something that's really, really good. This is something that we're going to want to support as a county. And then she could go ahead and she could make a proclamation on that without having to go through a staff report, bring it to all of us at a committee of the whole meeting, have the 7-day wait, have it approved at council. It's not saying that, of course, that things could happen in the future, but there is an accountability to the warden. The warden is held accountable to the council as a whole, right? So I think this is more just sort of a, let the warden field those questions, and then she can decide how she wants to deal with it. I think, for me personally, I would be fine with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed? No?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you very much.
Now, don't run out and get a Twitter account or anything like that.
Doesn't exist, you're okay.
109. Madame Campbell again. On bylaw 5, civic address, we need somebody to read the motion. Councillor Welsh?
I move to recommend that municipal council give first reading to approve bylaw 5 civic address.
Thank you. And seconder, Agambar? Councillor Agambar? Madame Campbell? You're on again.
We thought it would be good to do this bylaw at the same time we did the road naming policy. They kind of relate to one another and have an impact. This is a bylaw because it has penalty sections. It regulates that people are required to post their civic number, and it prescribes in what manner they're supposed to post it. This is, I don't recall us ever charging under this bylaw, but it gives us the ability to do so, and it imposes an obligation on residents.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from Madame?
Just a comment more than anything, or I guess maybe a question as well on page 113. I just noted that the fines are pretty high. And I understand why there's a fine there, and I know how important this is to protective services like fire and police, so on and so forth. So who establishes the amounts of the fines? Is that something that's from the provincial government, or?
You're doing it right now by approving the bylaw.
There it is.
If you want it less, you change it.
Okay. I just think it's pretty high, personally, myself.
If it is the standard that we have established for other bylaws, you are totally free to change it. But this is the standard minimum that we have put in our other bylaws, such as dog bylaw, for example. And we do look at what the fine levels are of other municipalities. We certainly wouldn't suggest that you impose a fine that's 3 times more than the best practice of other municipalities. This is in line with others. We did find for a while in some of our bylaws, such as the dog bylaw, that our fines were low and they weren't taken seriously.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Santa?
So just to clarify, on page 113, the section above, what Councillor Agambar said, if I interpret it, 12, the second dash over 12, if remedial action's not been completed within 30 days of notification. So might interpret that as essentially a warning to correct the action before a fine is imposed?
Yeah.
Yes, that's how we have always done it. And I would also perhaps clarify that we do have the fine ability, but that section in section 12 gives us the ability to go in an extreme circumstance and correct it and charge it back to the property owner.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed? No. Motion passed. Okay, and on page 127? Yeah, 127. Okay, so this is a staff report from Mr. Young? No, from Angela, sorry, Madame Anderson, sorry, the Director of Finance. So it's on capital funding request, so I have 5 motions, so we're going to do them separately, or do you want to speak on all of them first? No, we do a motion. Let's start by the first motion. Councillor Aguilar?
I move that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council authorize funding of $32,062 from the Capital Reserve Fund for the completion of the Bridgetown parking lot and EV charging station project.
Seconded by Deputy Warden. Madame?
So just a summary, this whole report is kind of a housekeeping report. So these projects were all previously approved in 23-24 fiscal year. So audit standards and everything, I don't have approval in 24-25. So they continued in 24-25, and these are the remaining costs for the current year. So this is just requesting that funding for this year. And I tried to match it with the original source of funding from the 23-24 budget.
Okay. We'll start with Councillor Cotw.
So when the,
Councillor, just before I'll lose them all, Councillor Hare, Councillor Wall, and Deputy Warden. Yes.
so when this project is completed, are we gonna have a report at the end of the year of how many hours was charged to these machines or used, so we can debate if we're gonna put more in across our county? Is it worthwhile, or is it something we're putting in place and it's not being used?
Oh, you're referring to the EV charging station?
Right.
Yeah, I think we made $2 so far, or $3. We can provide that information to council, yes.
Yeah, because I mean, if we're gonna look at different areas to put them, is it sensible to spend the money to put them in, or is the private sector putting enough in place? That's my concern, is that, are we sticking our taxpayers' money where the private sector's doing it? That's the bottom line. Because Bruce Chevrolet has a few different, they got one at across from Needs, they got a powering station, I think they got one at their garage and up the road a little farther. And so that's my concern, is that I don't mind spending the money, because obviously there's none in the Bridgetown area. But I just don't want to see us spending money if the private sector's doing it.
Okay. Let's move on. Thank you, Councillor, to Councillor Hare.
Yeah, that is a good point from Councillor Connell. It would be interesting to see a report on these charging stations. Also, my question was just a quick one. I'm curious, our $2 we earn from it, I'm assuming that's coming to us. That's it.
Don't spend it on
Yeah.
it.
Go too far. Councillor Welsh.
I was just curious as to what level of charger that is, and are they consistent with the other chargers that we might be putting in across the county?
Okay, I'll refer that one over to Jim.
It's a level 2 charger.
It is a level 2?
And it's a dual charger.
Okay,
You can charge 2.
okay,
And that's
thank you.
that's the only one we own.
The only one we do.
Okay. Is there a plan for more, or is there?
There is. We'll have that discussion at budget time, yeah, if we wish
Sure.
to put in more locations,
Okay.
based on whether they're practical or not, if they're being used.
Yes.
My turn.
Make $6.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. I just want to point out that almost all these projects, if not all, have already been completed. This was just a housekeeping to move money from one
Budget.
year to another, because we had a project that is a payee, so it moved forward. So, I don't want to say point of order for it, but
No.
this is what we're just, I just don't want
Yeah, it's not a
I just don't want to be having huge discussions forever on all these. Yeah.
Thank you. And Councillor Oxner?
I just have a question about the charging stations at the school in Bridgetown.
They're not there.
They're not.
Oh, they're gone?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
There's your answer.
There's my answer.
That'll answer Fuzzy's question.
Well, they were never hooked up.
No.
They're gone.
Okay, any other questions?
Good to know.
Yes.
Just quickly for clarification, all of these amounts were already budgeted for in 23-24, as you said, so we're not going to see these. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. On the motion, all in favor, signify by saying yes.
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 Against, no. Motion passed. Next motion, Councillor Carson Sullivan.
I move that Committee of the Whole recommend that Council authorize funding of $52,117 from the Capital Reserve Fund for the completion of the Sports Hub Accessibility Project.
Thank you very much. Seconder, Deputy Warden. Any comments or questions? Make them brief.
Question?
All in favor, signify by saying,
No, question.
oh, all in favor, signify by saying yes.
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 Against, no. Motion passed. Okay, third motion. I need a volunteer. Thank you. Councillor Person-Sullivan.
I move that Committee of the Whole recommend that Council authorize funding of $141,000 equally from the county water and county sewer reserves for the East End water study.
Thank you. Seconder. Councillor Oxner. Questions, comments? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no.
Yes.
Motion passed. Next motion. Okay, Councillor Person-Sullivan.
I move that Committee of the Whole recommend that Council authorize funding of $27,706 from the Canada Community Building Fund for the Facilities Assessment Project.
Seconder. Councillor Harding. Questions or comments?
I just got a question.
Yeah, Canadian Community Building Fund,
Yeah, I know.
maybe the gas tax.
Yeah, so I actually forgot something I wanted to bring up during my last time is we are now in February. Why are we doing this now versus, my question is why wasn't this captured and forecasted at the end of the last fiscal year as a carryover?
Good question.
Any comments?
Just timing and resources. So capital was only reconciled once a year prior to this. So, I mean, the fact that it is coming in February means we're actually working on the next fiscal year and audit and everything, which is a bonus, but that's essentially it, because capital is typically reconciled at year end.
So part two of that question is, as we get close to the end of fiscal year, even right now, is Public Works advising finance that there's going to be carryover projects?
Yes, we had that complete this year, so that's where this analysis came from, was making sure we had all the funding and seeing what we had to carry forward for work in progress projects. So there will be a section in the capital budget of work in progress.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Anderson. Any other questions, comments? All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Against, no. Motion passed. Next motion. Councillor Welsh.
I move the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council authorize funding of $9,775 from the Capital Reserve Fund to the accessible upgrades to Jubilee Park.
Seconder. Councillor Person-Sullivan. Pushing this up. Questions, comments? Councillor Welsh.
Is there a countywide project to upgrade all of our facilities to make them accessible? Is that part of what this project is?
This project specifically was just for Jubilee Park.
It was just for Jubilee.
Yeah, some accessibility upgrades on the stage and stuff like that. Okay. And I believe this last little expenditure was for like a lift system.
Okay.
To get on the stage.
Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? No? Motion passed. Perfect. Let's move on. Making the nomination. We are on page 130. Which is the residential tax rate policy. And there is a motion there to be read. I need somebody to read the motion. Councillor Hare.
I move that the Council of Municipality of the County of Annapolis approve policy 134 respecting frozen residential tax rate.
Thank you. Seconder.
I'll second.
Seconder. Cranton. Mr. Cranton. Okay. Thank you for that. So, discussion, Councillor Hare, I'll leave it for you to start.
We can certainly appreciate the placement of a motion like this in the agenda right after a bunch of capital funding requests. No matter. I'm sure this, no matter how we vote on this policy, this will make headlines either way now. I like to say I didn't put this in here for fame or glory. After talking this over with some people the past couple of weeks, I was warned this might seem like I'm doing this for some sort of gain. This is certainly not the case. I just believe we need to have this, and my hope is we as a council will be able to say we all made this happen. As a resident before I was elected, I mean, my only fears, county related, all boiled down to in the end was is the planning going to affect my way of life, or is my tax rate going to go up? I believe there is a fair few, majority of people who probably feel that way, feel the same way. We're living in a world of uncertainty. We never know what difficulties our constituents may face with what tomorrow may bring. We are seeing that now with the threat of tariffs. If we put a policy in place like this, we make our mission to abide by it, and I think we can expect a sigh of relief from our constituents that at least we won't be raising the rate. I just think it should be harder to raise the rate than it is. This would make one extra step to doing it by forcing the sitting council to repeal it. But what I assume would become a beloved policy who pay it. Fitting barrier for raising the taxes. We shouldn't have an open checkbook into our taxpayers' wallets. It's just kind of my line of thinking. There's a limit to how much we can tax our residents, and someday we got to draw the line, and I'm hoping we can at least temporarily draw here. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the term Laffer curve. It's a theoretical concept that dictates you can only tax people so much, but before it's counterproductive to increase rates any further to gain additional revenue. We probably have a long way to go before we get to that point, but what I do believe is we are at a point where any further increase to the rate is only going to decrease quality of life for those who live in our county. Our needs are being met. We have a lot going on here. An increase only means another few hours somebody will have to work. It's another few tanks of gas, or a few dollars somebody loses out on their hobbies. I'm sure they would much rather spend their money on. We can't forget the rate is a percentage. We typically buy homes, people typically buy homes they can afford, which amounts to a percentage of their income. With no limit to how high the rate can be over time. I don't know how many years it can be. The home, $40,000 income they buy will be less and less with a limit. And again, these past few years have not been the case, but hopefully at some point we'll once again see wages grow more closely in line with housing costs. And that income will buy that same house years down the line. And at least if that's not the case, we won't be contributing to it. Really, this is about a commitment, hopefully, to staying within our means, symbolic of nothing else. The county should grow at the same rate as our people. This policy would see us grow at the rate our assessments increase or by new development. And so I would think this would help in planning as well. If we wanted to expand our services more than they already are, encouraging development would be a must. We certainly don't have an excess of industry here in the county. Perhaps this may encourage us to attract more business than we already are. Our residents don't get to operate like us. If a resident wants to do a car and they don't have the money, they have to save for it within their given revenue. They don't get to go to their employer and demand more money for it. If our businesses want to expand, they have to wait until their clientele and market grows enough to see to it. I would be out of business pretty quick if I raise my prices to build a few more storefronts. I don't believe this will stop potential projects or services from happening as long as they are within our means. I believe this could make potential projects more fair. You know, if I wanted to, I don't know, just something ridiculous. If I wanted a multi-million-dollar statue of our most current warden in Margarettsville, with the residential tax rate at a question,
That's a good one.
I would have to turn to an area rate. It would then be my constituents in District 2 paying the rate and not the ones on the other side of the county. And again, this isn't making it impossible to raise the rate. I cannot necessarily foresee a set of circumstances that would put us immediately into financial difficulty, as long as we live within our means and don't overextend ourselves, which I hope this policy will endorse. But if something were to happen, we could publicly repeal this document and with good reasoning. Not that we couldn't afford a statue in Margarettsville. One concern I'm sure some may have is, assessments may go down. I'm not 100% sure of how the facts to this, but I will say this. If you go look on Viewpoint and you look at the property assessments all across the county, right now they're listed from 2021 to 2025. The lowest I've seen was 50%, and the highest that I've seen was like 216%. I'm guessing in them few sets of years, the good majority of these properties probably are capped. And so I would assume it would take quite a few years of devaluation before we would get to them capped assessments. And it would give us time. Again, not looking for fame requesting this policy. I just hoping to foster a culture of financial responsibility in the county, that whatever we look to do within our means. If someone wants to praise you for supporting this policy, take all the credit by all means. Somebody asks you for something out of their means and you want somebody to blame, tell them to blame Councillor Hare. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, or Deputy Warden, and then Councillor Oxner.
Thank you. So, it's a very hard act to follow, I guess. But first I want to point out the fact that I appreciate the work and the effort and the thought that's put into this, and the fact that it does take a lot of courage to put something on the floor that's this big of a topic. And we all have different thoughts about it. And in some ways or in a lot of ways, it's a double-edged sword. Personally, I, and most other councillors, I'm assuming, do not want to see a tax rate at all. And then there's discussions around, well, we could lower taxes, but I'm not a big fan of lowering taxes to then in 2 years' time potentially raise them because we lost the revenue, because it looks even worse than if we raised taxes before. Personally, I'm one of the ones in Viewpoint that's had a large increase. So last year I had a 113% increase. And on top of that, they decided that part of mine was commercial. But that's a story for a different day. So I can understand and I can appreciate, and when people say that their taxes have gone up, and of course, the first thing is the county raised taxes. Well, we haven't raised taxes in quite some time. Assessment's gone up. That also leads into another conversation of do we or do we not agree of the province doing their assessments the way it is. Personally, I don't. I don't feel that I should be measured with HRM and different things, and I shouldn't be penalized for fixing up my house. But that's a whole different topic. But back to the double-edged sword of the motion on the floor. The way I look at it is, no matter how I vote on this motion on the floor, I'm going to be perceived as a bad person. And let me explain that. So, if I say, yeah, I agree that we should freeze and put this extra step in for us to then, put the extra step in so we have to do it twice in order to raise something in the future. Yes, at the beginning, people are going to say, oh, I'm so glad that we did that. However, how come you didn't motion to lower the taxes? If you feel that you can freeze them, then you should have lowered them. And with lower taxes, you have to decide, okay, are we going to cut services? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? People will like it. No matter what we say today in the newspaper, come Thursday, it's going to, or next Thursday, it's going to be in there. So, but if I vote against it, then I'm looked upon that I'm 100% supportive of us raising taxes, which I'm not. But I currently feel that I'm put into a bad situation of no matter what we as a council, not just me, may or may not look bad. I believe that people know where I stand personally and what my citizens believe. They had faith to elect me to this position on their behalf to make sure we make the right decisions and believe that, God forbid, we got in a situation that we have to raise taxes, that we're doing it for the right reasons. We exhausted all options. That's why in the next couple weeks we're sitting as a group to look over the budgets. Because during those conversations, that's when we have those tough discussions of, okay, our expenses are this, revenue is this. What are we going to do to make sure that they equal? Whether we cut services or don't cut services, or raise tax or lower tax or keep tax the same. We've had a saving grace over the past 3 years that, from a county perspective, our revenue has increased, but that's on the backs of assessments. And that time is going to end shortly. We had the briefing from Provincial Value, whatever their acronym is, that the assessments are now starting to plateau. We've had the large increase because when people buy their houses that moved here, it's usually the second year that they see the huge jump to match what they purchased the house for. And it's not until after that point that they can get a cap if they're required to. So we've now seen that, and now we're starting to see a plateau. There's never going to be a time that our property values are going to go down. Well, I shouldn't say never, because the world right now is insane, but you usually don't see it go down. So, I do not know how I want to vote on this, because it's determined how bad or I just don't know. Because no matter how I vote, I'm put in a situation where myself and council is going to look bad. But at the same time, I do want to put it forward that I appreciate the fact that someone put this thought onto the floor and has done a lot of research and a lot of good points, and I agree with all of them. I just don't know if I agree with how we're dealing with this. Where we're putting in an extra step, which I'm all good with checks and balances. But this really doesn't stop us from raising the tax rate in the future. It really doesn't. It adds an extra step. And so, for an example, God forbid this year we had to raise taxes, which come hell or high water, I will not be supporting. But that means that we would repeal it this month, right now actually, in February. We would deal with the public situation. Then we would end up fighting about a rate. And then we would impose that new rate and then deal with the public outlash again. But it's not stopping us from increasing. It's not a true freeze. It's just an extra step that, I don't know, I feel like I'm just going around in circles. I just don't know how I feel about how I'm going to vote, because I don't feel that there is a good way to vote on this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Warden. So next I have Councillor Ochsner, Councillor Crampton, and Councillor Longmire. I did see your hand, and Councillor Connell. And Agambar.
Everybody.
He's the same.
Go around the table.
Yeah, see, that's what's going to happen here. Okay, so we're...
I think I can speak for all of the councillors in saying that we all hope we don't have to increase taxes. I think this motion is a little premature. I don't see how we can make an informed decision without seeing our budget, which we're working on starting next week. And I think we would do our residents a disservice by just doing an off-the-cuff vote and proceeding with this. And again, it's my hope that we don't have to raise taxes, but do we compromise services or projects going forward by making a premature judgment call on this? That's all I have.
Thank you, Councillor Ochsner. You were very succinct. Very good. Councillor Crampton.
So I've been writing some notes ahead of our budget meetings, so don't have them all with me here today. But I'll talk a little bit about it. First off, I want to thank Councillor Hare for taking the initiative to prepare this and preparing his words. I share a lot of what he had said. I've heard it from concerns. Just most recently, this and one other topic appear to be the two biggest concerns within my district. I typically do consider tax rate being something that you do after budget, like after you've approved, as you're preparing your budget, you're setting the tax rate at the same time. But I do think that this is an opportunity to set the tone. So I have a few more points here, but I'll start by saying I am going to support the proposed policy. Or I guess I should ask the first question first on it. By frozen residential-based tax rate, my concern was that we weren't putting ourselves in a position that we can't pursue lowering it. So as I read how it's worded here, it would just say the intent would be we're not going to raise it, but the lowering of the tax rate would not necessarily require a repeal of this bylaw. Because that's what I want to be able to explore. I want to be able to see some more data on assessment, because I do feel growth in total tax revenue should be somewhat restricted to growth.
like new properties, new assessments, not in the market values of people's houses going up just because PVSC has put them up. I've always maintained, and it's always been an unpopular opinion, but I'll say it again, that we determine the tax bill, not the assessment. So I've always maintained that any municipality that with the knowledge that assessments has gone up and keeps their tax rate the same has contributed to the tax bill going up for the tax people. It's not, you can't just say, well, that's assessment. So sometimes you have to. I like to see it being growth. So when we look at the additional revenue that we would get by keeping the tax rate the same, I do think there is some potentially lower the rate. And I know that's not what we're discussing right now, but getting back to Councillor Hare's discussion, I think overall, I think it is a good starting point. It shows that by supporting this, it shows an initiative that we want to be able to, at least at minimum, keep our rate the same and live and restrict ourselves to the growth of assessed dollars. So I'd like to go the other direction, but at minimum, I want to be able to support Councillor Hare's policy that this be frozen, and I don't mind it being extra steps to repeal if we have to, because I think it will keep us motivated to at least live within these means. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cranton. Councillor Longmire, are you there?
Thank you. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes?
Yes. So I guess I would like to begin by saying, our finance department has done a beautiful job at keeping us on point, and we heard from the finance department last month, and things were looking very good. Proactive work is the least costly. When we have to do things reactively, we're going to spend more money. Budgets are going to be set, this is coming here on this agenda in February, we're soon just 2 weeks away from sitting down and considering budgets and being set for the next fiscal year. So I do find this just a little bit premature. However, out of the sensitive aspect, I feel that we're always being thoughtful about how we're spending money, and we are going to be facing some serious capital projects that to even contemplate what would be the respectful or the most sensitive rate, I don't know how we can say we know what the future has in store for us, and as well be as mindful about the rate that we set, because we will always be chasing our tail. We're going to face many challenges going forward. I think the rate that we had set last year was reasonable. At this point, I don't think I'm going to be in favor of this policy, because I think it really, we're going to be facing setting the budget, and so there's so many more conversations that need to be had. I do recognize that citizens are finding it tough and struggling, and we know food insecurity and housing and all of this adds up to being a true burden for many. And so I want to, be respectful of all, but I also don't want to put a deadlock on the county in doing the work that's necessary, and it's going to cost us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Longmire. Councillor Cotw, and then Councillor Aguilar.
I don't have no problem with any councillor bringing something forward. I mean, it's good to think outside the box. It's good to look forward to what you can do and what you can't do. I always appreciated the talks at the budget times and finding out what we need to cover and what we would like to have. Years ago, we split the wants and the needs into two different parcels, because we know already that we gotta put 2 RCMP officers in place. $500,000 or more. We already approved a letter to go to the province to up the library funds. Where do you think the province is gonna get the money from? Give your head a shake. It's coming from us. Our contribution to education could go up. There's things that's in the province, in the budget, that we will not have any choice other than to pay it. The wants, do we want a new rink? Do we want this? Do we want more parks? Do we want this? That's a decision where we can hold the tax rate. I've always appreciated at the budget time, if we come to consensus that we can hold the tax rate, it's done during that period, and it's under a good discussion on knowing the numbers. A few years back, we sat in this chambers and didn't raise the water and the sewer rates because we felt the taxpayers couldn't afford to pay another $25. So we held those rates for several years. And in the end, we ended up having to raise those tax rates 4 times higher in 1 year than we would have if we would have gradually just added 1% every year or whatever it took. It was quite a shock to the residents of the area that all of a sudden their taxes that they were paying wasn't covering the cost of doing what the county does. And that was only in water and sewer. But it was quite a shock rate all of a sudden to go from 0 to 10. And I understand that it's great to think outside the box. I have the issue with knowing that the policy can be repealed. And in my mind, if we're going to have good discussions at our budget meetings and come up with reasonable facts on what we got to spend, and do we have to raise the tax rate to succeed, or can we hold the tax rate? I like to see it allowed to be able to be done at budget time. So in my mind, the policy is a little bit quick to jump onto. I appreciate all the time and energy that's gone into it and the facts. But if we get into budget talks and see that we cannot survive by not raising the tax rate some little bit, then all of a sudden we're going to be somebody's going to put a motion on the floor to defer the budget and repeal the policy. The public's got the same thing as their educational part. The public's got to realize that we have stood our ground over the last, I don't think we've raised taxes over the last 4 years.
2019.
Maybe longer. Because we've seen assessment going up and we feel the cost to our residents. But again, we were dictated last year to put 8 officers in place. We're dictated every year on, maybe education's going up. Maybe library contribution's gonna go up. So I don't like to have my hands tied that, because I just find that it's a meaningful policy. But once we get into budget talks and we see that we cannot keep tax rate frozen, we're going to delay the finances for the county because someone's going to have to appeal the policy. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that until we get our numbers to see how we're sitting, to see if we can pay our bills, and again at tax time, our wants is a decision of this council. If we don't want to spend taxpayers' money on projects that's gonna make us forced to put up the tax rate, we don't vote for. So, I like to leave it at tax time.
Thank you very much, Councillor Connell. And last on my list is Councillor Agenbar.
Thank you. I'll try to be as brief as I can. As one of 7 new councillors sitting on this board, we've only been here 3 months, and in a couple of weeks, we're going to be getting into our first budget. And I know some of us have had experience doing that, but probably lots haven't. So I think in respect to that, this is a little bit premature, just prior to that process. A lot of good comments have been made by several of my fellow councillors here as well. One of the big questions I would get repeatedly when I was campaigning to run for councillor is, what the councillors actually do. But other than the normal cliches and, the Google definition and so on and so forth, one of the major mandates that our public have given us, each and every one of us, is to manage the budget. Okay? I think we need flexibility in terms of the taxation process in order to do that, just to deal with budgetary pressures, simply as inflation for one thing. I don't particularly agree with the way budgets, or, taxation is done through assessment, but that's not our mandate to deal with here at this point. And as Councillor Deputy Warden Inslow stated, no matter what choices we make today, it's kind of like being a referee, when every time you blow the whistle, 50% of the crowd are going to like the call and 50% aren't, or some derivative of that. It's not unheard of through good fiscal policy that tax rates can be reduced. And as Councillor Connell stated and others, by doing good fiduciary diligence, it's our job to do what we can do to maintain the status quo in terms of the products or the services that we can provide. But no one has a crystal ball in terms of what's coming down the pike. So I think, in my opinion, I applaud the initiative that Councillor Hare has made here, but I think it's premature and it should be tabled, at least for this fiscal year, so we can get our feet wet if you can in terms of the next budget process, which is coming right up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. That was well said. We've gone around, we've had a lot of opinions. We'll let you finish off, Councillor Chair, and then we will go to vote immediately.
Yeah. One of the big things I'm hearing here is this is premature. This is before the budget. That's, to me, that's not the point. It's not the point, and it's the point. This is about a commitment, long-term, that we're going to maintain or not go above this rate. This isn't to say, oh, we should wait till after budget is useless. We might as well not have the policy at all. There's no point in putting it after budget, because then you'd say the same thing the next year. We'll wait till the budget the year after that. So this is not about, I'm not trying to get a head start in next year's budget. I'm trying to make a commitment to maintaining the level of services we have comparative to the tax base we have through assessments and the developments we have. So when we sit here and we talk about the next however many years, and hopefully the councils after that, if it lives this long, we don't necessarily come up with ideas that's going to go above and beyond our means of what we are capable to do. It's again, it's not about budgeting, it's about a commitment. And when I sat here and tried to figure out the idea, I tried to figure out, what's going to be the arguments against it. And one thing, like Councillor Connell said, is there's hard costs. And I do understand these hard costs are going up more than inflation perhaps. But I trust that we will be continuing development. We will have more housing, more tax base through housing. I hope that with a policy like this, we're going to attract more business to have more of a tax base. And I hope that we will outgrow the hard costs faster than they come on to us. And again, if hard costs is what you're worried about, I don't think we're going to end up in a financial situation where we're going to be ruined in less than a year. So if we do this budget and we find out it's bad, we're not going to be ruined in a year. We'll be able to repeal it for the next year. Like I say, this is about not making it so we sit down and budget every year and decide the tax rate then. To me, it's not the way we should be doing it. We should have a goal in mind of the status quo. And but if for some ungodly reason we need to raise it, then I think it should be the year after, and then we need to be able to defend ourselves to the public. And that's kind of another one was, and I apologize for, I've heard people say, damned if you do, damned if you don't. I apologize for putting you in a situation like this, but I don't think it's a damned either way. Like say, I'm pretty sure the way it is worded, the rate can go down, it's just not above 1.025. And the deterrent is the public outlash. That is the deterrent, is repealing the policy. It is an extra step and that's it. So, and yeah, I had another one here, inflation good budgeting. Other than that, I heard comments about like the water utility. We weren't raising the water utility enough. We're not. The residential tax rate isn't the water utility. It's it's the residential tax rate does more than just pay for water. It pays for everything else, and that's what I mean. Living within means of what we're spending our residential tax rate on. So again, it is basically a percentage of somebody's income, and it's going to be less than they can spend on their hobbies, the things they want. They're going to have to work harder over time. So if we allow it to even increase, so it's a commitment, and I hope we can have that commitment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hare. Okay, so no councillor here wants to see a tax rate go up. Trust me. We have a motion on the floor, and we will be taking a vote. All in favor of accepting the motion of raising the residential tax rate, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
2. All those opposed of this motion, signify by saying no.
No.
Motion lost. Thank you very much. The next, we got a few more minutes, and then I think we're going to have a break. We didn't bring Madame Barr way up here with her crutches. Come back later. I got him. Okay, we have a staff report on the area signage. I have a motion that should be read by one of my councillors. Councillor Ochsner.
I move the municipal council approve the recommended purchase and installation of drinking water protection signage for the municipal water systems in Cornwallis Park, Margarettsville, Granville Ferry, Bridgetown, and Bear River.
Thank you very much. Seconder, Councillor Harding. Madame Barr.
I have nothing more to add at this time. So this would basically be $1,500 to be for the entire county's water utility source water areas. And we expect, I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks of staff time to complete it. And the cost will be close as well.
Thank you. Deputy Warden.
Thank you. So I just want to provide maybe a little bit of background, if we can. So this was, of course, as you read, a decision that we had from the last council that it was brought up that we need to put some type of signage. There's lots of discussion about putting a sign every 100 feet or this and that. And then we asked staff to really look into it. So I'm supportive of what we're going to do. It puts it out there maybe the way we should have in the first place. But that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much. Any other council? Councillor Longmire and then Councillor Connell.
Thank you. I would like to say that I'm totally in support of this purchase for these signs. As Deputy Warden Enslow said, this came about from last council, and a very, very vital decision, I might add, as it did appear that we almost had let's consider it a near miss. We need, because these several headwaters do sit very close to other private properties. Like we can only control what we can control, but certainly signage is important. I hope that it's adhered to, and it's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Connell?
Yes, it's not a lot of money, but I hope the signs are made within our county. There's lots of sign people that make signs in our county, and I'd like to see spend our money local. Just a remark.
Didn't know anybody made galvanized signs in
Yeah.
Annapolis County. We'll check.
Thank you.
We'll check.
Councillor? Any other comments? Thank you, Madam Bar. All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Against, no?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Was she yes or no? Or no for yes?
Try not to stop it there. Okay, we are on, what are we on?
We're on the appointment of volunteer.
Business, 6.1 Volunteer Selection Committee, and this committee was usually, and still is, obviously, because here she comes.
Good morning. So each year, as you are probably aware, we do a volunteer recognition ceremony in the county, and this is our opportunity as a county to recognize our volunteers, who quite honestly are the backbone of our existence. You probably recognize that in discussions we have already had. So as part of the process, each year, the province recognizes individuals from each region. So in this case, we have someone being recognized from Annapolis County, Kings County, Digby County. As part of that process, we determine whose name is put forward to the province. So as we collect names for recognition of our county volunteers, we have a selection committee made up of councillors and some staff through a very fair process, I promise, to pick out a volunteer name to put forward to the province. They will be recognized at the provincial level at a provincial ceremony. Last year it was held in Truro. They'll let me know where it's going to be held for 2025. In saying that, every name that's nominated on the county level is recognized. Everybody gets their acknowledgement. It's always done for the last 2 years and coincides with the Annapolis County Volunteer Expo that we've started holding, and this year will be our third annual event, scheduled for tentatively September 20th, if you want to put that in your calendars. That has to be confirmed from the school board. So right now, I am asking for volunteers from council to come forward to be part of our selection committee. It is a horrible task because you want them all to win, but I promise it's very rewarding, and I promise I'll have muffins and coffee.
And we need volunteer, 2 councillors?
2 minimum.
I
I'm
put my name
absolutely
forward.
open to more, though.
So we have 1, Councillor Oxner has put her name in, and Councillor Carson Sullivan.
You'll get her.
I'll get it eventually.
Shorten your name.
I'll get it eventually. I want to go Parsons and I want to go Saltzman, but I don't seem to want to stick them together. So you have 2 volunteers.
That's great. I will be in touch with details as the date gets closer. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Okay, so It is 12:35, and we have something later. Do you want to do the next one, or do you want to pause it for now, or I think this next
Why
one...
don't we do the next one and then break for lunch and do it after?
Perfect. So
Thank you.
6.2...
This was going to take about 30 seconds.
Right. I agree.
Maybe 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Mayor versus warden discussion, you put it on the floor, so Councilor...
Thank you.
you're-
Well, when the UARB sent its decision down in respect to this matter last year, and also the reason why we're having the boundary issues, item number 44 on that decision that was rendered on, back in October the 19th, 2023, the UARB also states that in that item, and I quote, "At a minimum, if the municipality revisits the issue of a mayoral system or a warden system of government, then that issue should be determined before more public consultation takes place on the number of councillors and the boundaries of the polling districts. Therefore, based on that direction from the UARB and its findings, I fail to see how that we can go to the public engagement on the boundary issue without doing the same for the mayor versus the warden question. So therefore, I respectfully request that we have the discussion either today or at the next CEO Committee of the Whole or council meeting prior to going to the public with the district boundary survey. I'm looking for a discussion from council regarding that issue because according to the UARB, and I know that the mayor thing isn't mandated, such as the boundary districts, but they were very strong on that in the sense that they felt that the decision wasn't correct the last time, and that they're suggesting very strongly that before we go to the boundary issue, we should at least have the discussion in respect to the mayor versus the warden system.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Connell.
You can read it whatever you want, but the URB said they had no jurisdiction over what council chose, warden or deputy warden.
That's correct.
It wasn't that it was done wrong, and it's not that it has to be done. It says that the URB has no jurisdiction over warden or deputy. That's entirely up to council.
Thank you. Councilor Crankin.
I'm okay with Councilor Agenberg's request to have it added to the agenda for the next committee of the whole. It's not necessarily a reflection on the topic, but I'm okay with it having it honoring his request.
All right. Any other comment? So you will have to discuss it with you, or do we do a motion to put it on now, to put this discussion on to committee of the whole next month?
Oh, we just put it on there.
Okay, done.
Bada boom, bada bang.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
We didn't discuss it today?
Mr. Skempton?
You did it on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done. So what, at this moment, when we'll come back, we'll be going in camera, so
Let's move
we
camera
might as
now.
well do it right now, right?
Oh, we're still on the clock.
Right, and we're going in camera on section 22(e), contract negotiations, and we added the second one, which is 22(g), which is legal advice. So those are two, and I need a motion to go in camera. Deputy Warden, seconder. Cranford. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, nay, no, all, motion passed. Okay, thank you very much.
Time do you want it back?
We're calling the meeting adjourned for the day. Have a good day. There you go.